Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle. It is great to be here with you on another Fitness Friday, the best day of the week. Gotta love it. And folks, this episode is actually a leadership episode, and so I'm going to talk a little bit more on this episode, lay a little foundation on the importance of openness and adaptability. Particularly during times and seasons of adversity, which certainly come to all of us. But I think there's certainly some leadership lessons to be learned during this time. But I have to kick this episode off. Now you've heard me talk since March, since the inaugural workout at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center, about the different changes and different, just even how my own mindset has evolved, and you guys have seen it truly unfold in real time in the last few months. And so I'm always talking about different things that I buy and all of this and that, but I just had to share with you. And so it's been a while since I've brought out the SWOT analysis. And I told you, yes, these are done, certainly gyms, fitness chains, all of that. But certainly I certainly as one of the big proponent, big believer in the SWOT analysis and the value of SWOT analyses being performed in all arenas, certainly all arenas, but I certainly perform it here at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And so from a weakness standpoint, I'm asking myself, I'll ask myself, so what about this? What about this? And I've bought a number of items, and it really, Rachelle's Home Fitness Center has really grown over the last few months. Certainly a big part of that is certainly attributable to the supply chain, just the global supply chain in terms of fitness items, truly catching up because the demand has been, as you would imagine, has been very, very high. Certainly these days it's much easier to find items than it certainly was back in April, when fitness facilities were shut down and all of that. So I'm always thinking about, different ways that I can improve my own workout experience here, actually downstairs in the garage at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And so one thing that certainly came to mind, and it has been an issue for a while, is just having a wonky Wi-Fi signal down in the garage. And now I live in a townhouse style condo, so it's actually 3 levels. And so I'm actually on the 3rd level now with, as you can see, my router. So the signal up here is fine, whatever, but again, as you get down to the lower levels, very, very inconsistent signal. And so I'm happy to report I actually got this AT&T Wi-Fi extender and use it downstairs during my workouts. And folks, the Wi-Fi signal is fantastic because I have a playlist saved on Amazon Music and things like that. So it has been wonderful. And so this is a new addition to Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. Gotta love it. Another addition, as I mentioned, another addition to Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And as I alluded to last week, certainly, part of the Planet Fitness, the more than 3 years that I spent as a member of Planet Fitness, that legacy will certainly live on, and certainly remain very, very proud to have been a member of Planet, and certainly to be a member of one of the clubs here in Metro Detroit owned by PF Michigan Group. And so they did a wonderful job, continue just the leadership, just so proud that type of fitness industry leadership, certainly franchise leadership and ownership coming out of the state of Michigan from PF Michigan Group. And as I alluded to a long time ago, this had to be in early, maybe 2018, when I had initially transferred my membership to that Commerce, Michigan location of theirs. And certainly one strength, and I've been to a number of their locations, but certainly one strength of that franchise group in terms of their actual gyms themselves, the facilities themselves, was, as I alluded to a long, long time ago, layout, very, very spacious. They did a wonderful job with that. But also they were very generous, the Planet Fitness colors, purple, the purple, and you also see the yellow or gold, just depends on how some people define it. But they were very, very generous with this color in their facilities. And I recognize particularly that winter of 2018, just what a difference that made when I was walking through that door super early in the morning, regardless of which location that I was entering, and I would see this generous, just this yellow, particularly in the entrance areas, and it was just wonderful in terms of really, just brightening the mood, and particularly during the cold, dreary winter months, folks, it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And so actually I bought some of these and have them downstairs at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. So happy to continue, like I said, that legacy will continue to live on, Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And so I had to start off by sharing those two. I'm gonna throw this over here so I can move along with this episode. But folks, want to delve in, lay a foundation here in this episode on the importance of being open and being adaptable. Now, for those who are planners, and certainly I spent many years, just my traditional natural bent is to be a planner. And I've given you a number of examples over the years. Have my plan, work my plan, but one thing I've certainly learned, probably in the last decade, is that rarely does life go all according to our plan. And just even I've lived here in the Metro Detroit area for a long time. And I've shared with you this before on a Fitness Friday episode, but I'll just, for those folks, I always have new people watching. But when I was at Northwestern, I had it all planned out how the next how the next 30 years of my life was going to go post graduation, and it's so funny to think about now. But I was gonna move to Minneapolis initially, then move to Detroit, and then I was going to move to Philly and then to Boston. And so, but see, the plan, really liking Detroit. Actually, I love the Metro Detroit area. Was not in my plan. So see, that threw a little kink, and here I am. Bought a condo in Novi a number of years ago. But that's how life is. And I know certainly as fitness leaders, fitness owners, franchise owners, certainly community fitness oriented facility leaders, the biggest challenge or the biggest threat in terms of the coronavirus, right? Has just been how it has thrown plans for a loop. It just really, people had plans, business plans. This is how it's going to work. This is how 2020 is going to go. This is our growth strategy. This is our expansion strategy. This is our launch strategy. And the Rona, people just use the vernacular. The Rona has thrown all types of plans out of the window. And that's why certainly during seasons of adversity like this, it's very important for us to be open. It's very important for us to be adaptable. It's very important for us to recognize that yes, even during seasons of adversity, opportunities, remember these are external, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are external. Even during seasons of intense adversity like we're facing right now, and certainly now like the fitness industry has never experienced, there are still areas of opportunity. Certainly, yes. The greatest, in terms of the greatest potential, in terms of opportunity that the coronavirus has presented in terms of the fitness industry facilities themselves, it's certainly been shifting towards virtual offerings, virtual training, virtual group fitness classes, app-based training, app-based, just keeping your members engaged virtually and digitally. We're going to talk more about that next week, so stay tuned for that. I'm going to talk with more specific examples, but wanted to lay the foundation today. But you got to be open, and I understand, a brick and mortar type facility and an owner or manager, if it's a corporate chain, whatever the case may be, it's just hard because this mindset is, hey, we're brick and mortar. This is how we've always done things. This is the way it's been done. But to survive this coronavirus pandemic, it is absolutely essential to be open and to be adaptable, to be agile, being willing to shift and pivot and recognize, hey, this is an opportunity we haven't leveraged before, or hey, we never considered this before. Let's take a look at this. Because if individuals, what we're talking about in the fitness industry or even outside the fitness industry, just a tunnel vision mindset that is not open is going to struggle and ultimately in many cases fail, unfortunately, because this is a situation, a pandemic like we have never faced. It is just impacting all areas of life and all areas of certainly business, including the fitness industry, and so we've got to be open. There's just but it starts with certainly baby steps in our personal lives, our professional lives. But those two, we've got to be open, be willing to make changes as we see fit. And I shared with you last time how I went to Louisiana, and yes, I had a plan. When I drove down to Louisiana again, and got there on September 6th. So left here driving on the 5th, got there on the 6th, and my parents' 50th anniversary, September 26th. So I knew I was going to be there for the anniversary for that. Then I found out my dad had an appointment with his VA doctor, Dr. Corella, and I really have a lot of regard and respect for Dr. Corella. So I said, yeah, I want to go with you to that appointment with him. And I went and saw him when my dad had an appointment last year. Just have a lot of respect for Dr. Corella. And so that was that. So that was October 8th. And okay, so then after that, the Saturday after that, or the Sunday after that appointment, I'm going to drive back home. And then my dad had a couple of, unexpected medical setbacks. And one of them being he was admitted to the hospital a couple weeks later, right before I was supposed to leave again. And so he was admitted on a Thursday. I was supposed to leave that Sunday. But, just my leaving or departing under those type of circumstances was not an option. And certainly with all due respect, there are people with various circumstances, whether it be, professional demands, personal family demands, where that wouldn't have been possible. So I'm not trying to say that to make it sound like, I'm better than someone who had to make a different decision. Just we all have different circumstances in life. So I was just blessed and very fortunate to be able to make that decision to say, oh no, I'm not leaving until, things level out with this health situation. Because, just from my upbringing with my parents, always being there, being very consistent in my life. Just no excuses. Whether it was a softball game or track meet or swim meet, whatever the case may be, always there, one or both of them, always there supporting me and cheering me on and encouraging me. And that's, just those early foundational, certainly times of encouragement certainly shaped me into the person that I am today. So that's why I'm always very quick to help them in any way I can, to be a source of just assistance and all of that to them. Because why? Years ago when I was growing up, they did it for me. So that's just my personal philosophy on that. And so made the decision to remain there, and then ultimately ended up driving back on October 25th and did so. But I wanted to share with you yet another plan I had. I said, okay, so I am driving my preferred route back home. And so that is I-49 up to Texarkana, I-30 East, all the way to the Memphis area. Actually, yeah, and then you get on I-40, and then you go all the way up north to I-55, and then you get on I-57, going through Illinois, central eastern Illinois, all the way up, and actually goes all the way up to Chicago. So when I moved to Chicago, when I went to graduate school years ago, and that's what I shared last week, that just I-57 is just so, it just makes me smile, and I just reflect on my life and just reflect on that entire experience. It's just very, very meaningful to me. And so I said, yes, I finally get to go this route, and then up to, to Chicago, I-80, come all the way over, and then get up to I-94 and come all the way in, I-94 East, here to Detroit, to the Metro Detroit area, I-275 North, to Novi. And so folks, that was my plan. October 25th, I was going to make it happen. And so left Cape Girardeau driving, said, yeah, this is going to be great. I get to go finally. Because when I went earlier this summer, when I drove down to Louisiana, when I came back that time, I actually came through Indianapolis. And so kind of cut through that way up north, I-69 through Fort Wayne, Indiana, through Coldwater, Michigan, and got on 94 East. And so I just said, you know what, I just finally get to take the Chicago route. I took this Chicago route when I left on September 5th. And so I said, yeah, I get to come back the same route. This is going to be great. And so that was my plan. Left Cape Girardeau early that morning. And I said, okay, here we go. I'm on I-57. And then I mentally knew, okay, so because at that time, the temperatures had really, really dropped. And so I said it was maybe high 30s or something like that. And so the temperatures had dropped, and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop and get gas in Effingham, Illinois. And so that's actually a junction. You have to make a decision. I had to make a decision. I knew in Effingham, got to make a decision. Because that I-70, you can connect to I-70. It's I-57, but you can also get on I-70 and go east through Indianapolis, that same route I took before. But I said, hopefully everything will be fine. Long story short, stopped in Effingham, filled up with gas, went to the bathroom. I was about to pull off, and I said, okay, well, let me check the weather in Chicagoland. And so here I am. I actually have Evanston, the weather programmed on my iPhone app. So I just went over and looked at Evanston. And then much to my dismay, it said snow. And it said 100%, currently. And you could see, on anybody who has an iPhone, what it looks like. And it said, and I said, snow? And then I looked for the next hour. It segments it by hour. And then it said 90% chance the next hour. And I said, okay, so I'm roughly, a few hours away from Chicago, maybe 3 hours or whatever from Chicagoland. And I said, but you just never know with Chicago. I was like, okay, so is the storm is the snow potentially gonna come south? And in the best of circumstances, Chicago traffic can be a nightmare. And so I said, with snow on the ground and all of that potential situation, I said, I've just got to avoid Chicagoland. Just can't go that route. Got to go the same Indianapolis route that I took last time. And, I just was like, oh gosh, I was just so excited. And so I got one of these, certainly at one of the rest areas in Illinois that I pulled off. It says Enjoy Illinois from earlier this summer, was still there. And, but I had my plan. My plan was to go through Chicagoland, and I saw that snow. And I said, again, it could have been light snow, it could have been flurries. I did not spend time trying to investigate. That was probably about a 9.5 hour leg of that trip returning home. I was trying to get home. And so I said, I got to be willing to be flexible, to be open, to be adaptable, and say, do you want to just kind of go through Indianapolis where there's just no weather problems at all, no rain, it's all clear and all of that, so you'll be able to make good time home? Or do you take their preferred route and go through Chicago where there may be some delays, some traffic delays, and all of this and that? And it would be, one thing if Northwestern, like many places, they're pretty much shut down. And so still, with a lot of remote learning and all of that, so it wasn't an opportunity where, it may be some little snow in Chicago, but I'm just going to drive to Chicago and then just, stay in Evanston or, visit the campus or do something like that. So that wasn't an option. So there was truly no reason for me to go through my preferred route. As much as I love that route, I adapted, took I-70, made great time, got home, all of this and that, no weather problems, no traffic problems, none of that. It was wonderful, but that's just an example in life where we may have our preferred way of doing things, preferred route, and that I-55, then there's an exit 66 A and B, and it says Poplar Bluff and then Chicago. And then literally, it just, when I saw that sign, it made me smile because I reflected years ago, like I said, when I was heading up from, I left Florida, and spent, I remember, maybe 3 weeks in Louisiana, and then was moving up for grad school at Northwestern. And I just so remember even thinking back then, it was truly, I felt like, like I'm heading up north. I'm heading up to in many respects, I would remember thinking back then, like the promised land. Like, many of my ancestors felt the same way with a great migration moving from down south to up north. But, obviously there's opportunities all across the South, particularly in the major markets. But I certainly felt that way at the time. And so I just kind of reflect on that and smile. And truly, just the opportunities and open doors that certainly happened as a result of my moving up north and moving to Chicago. And so it just makes me smile, and I just reflect on all of that as I'm cruising through I-55, and I see that exit to get on that, to get on I-57 and then head up north. And I just remember back then, and it's like getting off on the Dempster exit. I think it was 294 in Chicago, suburban Chicago, and then taking Dempster Street east, because it dead ends right into Evanston, and then going to Englehart Hall, which my graduate dorms, but won't get into all of that. I'm getting off track, folks. See, just how when I stroll down memory lane, folks, it is wonderful. It is great. But see, we've got to be open. We've got to be open. Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. Okay, I had spent years and years and years, so May 17th, 1994, until that shutdown was announced on March 16th, 2020, exclusively gyms, gym workouts, gym fitness, all of that. But I had to be open. I had to be open. And I remember that same week, just to kind of reflect on that. And the 17th, so that next morning after gyms were closed, I said, yep, moving on to another plan. I'm going to be open. I'm going to be adaptable. I'm just going to power walk in the mall, because I've never seen anybody jogging and running in the mall. So I said, that's probably, from a liability standpoint, it's probably not allowed. So I said, I'm going to go over there and power walk, and did that Tuesday, that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I remember I was there Friday morning power walking, and I got a text from a friend of mine saying, just so you know, they announced malls are closing, and today's the last day. And so I remember thinking like, oh, what in the world am I gonna do? What in the world? And so as I've shared a few times in the last few months, I had to make a decision. You know, that Friday night, I went back to the Edge Fitness clubs. I remember earlier in the week, I tuned into this webinar. It was actually a Facebook Live that I went to their website, since I don't have a personal Facebook. I went to their website and I tuned in to Greg DiNatale. He's their director of training and director of education. They're in Connecticut at headquarters, and he did a great job on discussing protein and all of that. So I got engaged. So again, you teach me something, you really want to engage me, feed my brain. And so that opened my eyes, and I remembered, and I said, yeah, when they sent that email about that Facebook Live that he was doing, they also had some classes. And so I was never done a group fitness class, kind of like in person, never done a group fitness class, never worked with a personal trainer, none of that in all of those years. So for me, when I look back on that experience and think, I really had to be open, because I had kind of this mindset of that I'm a solo. When I work out at the gym, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to be left alone. That is my me time. It always has been that way. There are no exceptions to that rule. And so for me to even be open at that time to say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll through their Facebook page and look at some of these classes that we're teaching, that were being taught. And I got some inspiration. That Friday night. And I wasn't on that page maybe more than about 7, 8, 9 minutes. But just scrolling through some of those classes, the cardio dance class, I had some dancing in my background. I used to twirl baton and all that kind of stuff. So the cardio dance, really spoke to me. The HIIT training. So I was just looking at different classes from earlier that week, and this one lady was doing a HIIT class on her farm in Rhode Island, and this one guy was doing like a cardio boxing class, and those three really kind of stuck out to me. But just for me to be open enough to even look at that and say, okay, let me take a look at this. And so I'm kind of, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm kind of marveling that I was that open even back then, because that is something I never considered. But I gleaned some insight that I knew. I said, okay, this is it. Home fitness is gotta be a path for me now. But then I so credit that experience, my being open to certainly, but the Edge Fitness Clubs for just doing a wonderful job with those. And so that next morning was my inaugural day, Rachelle's Home Fitness Center, March 21st. And so, but I was open. And once again, earlier in the year, and I've talked about this, my plan during this point in the year, my plan was to have two gym memberships. And so I was going to partner plan it with another one. And as I stated last week, now I have no gym memberships right now. Because one of those potential, when I had 2 gym memberships, my initial plan, one of those has been replaced with Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. Why? Because I didn't plan on actually really enjoying working out at home, because it had never been an option. I'd never worked out at home before. It had been exclusive gym workouts. And so, but I was open, and see, when we're open, folks, you just never know. Sometimes things may not work out, but oftentimes, many times they do. And you will be pleasantly surprised at what happens and how things shake out and how things pan out. And I just would have never imagined, like Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. If somebody would have told me that earlier this year, like, there's no way I'm working out at home. There's just no way, because I'm just so conditioned to gyms for so many years. And I wanted to share with you too, something I was reading, it actually comes from Oprah magazine. So when I came back, and I had some magazines waiting for me in the mail. And so this is from, trying to think what month this is. So this is November. So it's Rethinking Thanksgiving. And so early on in the magazine, she asks, what are you most grateful for this year and why? And this person, there's different people, they respond with different, Nicholas Young, and there's just different people that have responded that they chose. And it was very interesting because this one is fitness related. So I saved it for this particular episode. So Deanna Jean Keller from Hollywood, I'm guessing Hollywood, California, it doesn't say Hollywood, Florida or anything, So it says what she said, what she's most grateful for this year. Listen to this: the beautiful outdoors. I only knew the gym before. Now I have all kinds of animal friends I see during my workouts. There's a squirrel that greets me each morning, same place, same time. The alignment that comes from that bond has surprised and delighted me. So here it is, early on, highly influential Oprah Winfrey and her magazine. This lady is talking about a similar story. All she knew was gyms, and now she's absolutely loving outdoor fitness. But she had to be open. She had to be open. And so I challenge each and every one of you, as I've had to do, in in all aspects, we've got to be open. We've got to be open to different ways of doing things, and recognizing, again, yes, the competitive threats that exist, particularly in the fitness industry, are there, will remain, but certainly there is an opportunity for you to pivot in terms of product offerings, service offerings, and all of that, tweaking some business, some aspects of your business plan, to make things more doable, to make things more workable, to neutralize any certainly threats such as the coronavirus or even competitive threats that exist in your market. And so this is a time to be open. And you may have had, from a strengths and weaknesses standpoint, when you look at your Google, reviews, when you look at Yelp reviews, when you look at feedback or surveys and all of that, and listen to what members have said to you, particularly members who have left. When you look at those and you look at that feedback, and perhaps you dismissed it in the past, you never really paid attention to it, or you never even asked because you were so busy and membership levels were so good and you had the growth that you were expecting and really wanted, and things were going your way and working out so well. And there it is. There it is. Then the Rona hit, and then your plans have been shaken up. And it can be very tough to overcome. Some challenges can be insurmountable. But now is the time to take a step back and just be open. What's happening? What's going on? What can be done differently in this particular instance? What can happen? And so, folks, there it is. Got to be open. Got to be open. And I actually have an example here. I'm going to close with this. Now, it is no secret. I love Dollar Tree. I love Dollar Tree. I've been a Dollar Tree fan and a loyal customer for several years now, ever since we got our location in Novi a number of years ago. And I've been to various locations in various states. And they just, one of the things I love about Dollar Tree, probably the biggest thing, is that they sell a lot of inspirational type of just trinkets and all of that. And this is an example. I actually got this when I was in Shreveport last month. And so just this tote bag that says, good things are coming. The good things are coming. And just, I actually just want to encourage you as I'm showing this to you, if you're open and if you're adaptable, if you're willing to do things differently and try a different way, listen to member feedback, particularly those that have left. Good things are coming. So just keep your hope and don't lose sight of your optimism. But those type of inspirational trinkets and accessories are certainly something I absolutely love about Dollar Tree. So I've been a Dollar Tree fan, as I stated, a number of years, a number of different locations. And so I had reached the decision, and with all due respect, that our Novi-Michigan location was the best of the best. And I've been going there for a number of years. There's a fantastic manager. I actually did a survey on her last year to corporate, shared that feedback. Does a wonderful job, even in spite of the coronavirus pandemic. Does an absolutely wonderful job. But I was in Ann Arbor earlier this week and had to go to the Secretary of State because, we're the real ID, our driver's license, you have to, get the real ID that has a star in the corner and all this kind of stuff. So trying to beat the rush since the due date for those has been extended till October 2021. So I was supposed to actually get that done. I had an appointment earlier this year, and then the shutdown happened and that appointment was canceled. So anyway, moving forward with that. So ended up at the Secretary of State because, Michigan is doing limited number of appointments for certain transactions only. So fortunately, since I went to Louisiana, they opened it up, those appointments, to also include now getting real IDs. So It's a very competitive situation now with getting appointments where you have to log on at 8 o'clock in the morning to get a next day appointment. Otherwise, you have to schedule it months in advance. So anyway, none of the locations, Secretary of State, many states call it DMV or Department of Motor Vehicles or Bureau of Motor Vehicles, all of that. So didn't want to wait, months till March to get an appointment. So looked at areas in the local area, Secretary of States and different suburbs around me. No appointments were available for that next day. So when you schedule an appointment like that, it's got to be for the next day. And they have times blocked off because I was told that they had a lot of no-shows when they just had it open for people scheduling. So they have it, book an appointment next day, and it's very, very competitive to get those appointments. So I looked in Ann Arbor. So I knew I was going to be in Ann Arbor, and I booked that appointment at the Secretary of State. There were 3 openings that following morning, and I said, this will be great. Before my appointment, I'm going to that Secretary of State. So went on, got my, did my paperwork and all of that for the real ID. They're going to mail it to me in a couple weeks. It'll be great. But as I'm pulling on up to this Secretary of State, I see there's a Dollar Tree right next to Ann Arbor, right next to the Secretary of State. And so I see that Dollar Tree, and I say, wow, I never knew that one was there, but I'd never kind of been to this part of Ann Arbor before, never gotten off kind of the main road to get on North Maple Road, where the Secretary of State was nudged way back in the shopping center. So I'm going to read a letter. This is actually a letter I wrote to corporate, came home, wrote a letter to corporate. Dollar Tree actually included a copy of my receipt, but this is a copy of the letter with my original receipt. But being open. And this is a wonderful example to close this episode out with being open, because when we're open, folks, sometimes we recognize in many cases, with all due respect, we may think something is the best, but then that's because, and certainly something you've heard me say over these Fitness Friday episodes here in the last 6 years now, is exposing yourself, going to other gyms, going to other gyms outside of your chain, go to private gyms and studios, go to community based. Go to competitors, if you can. And certainly, because you will be humbled. You will be humbled once you are exposed to realize that there's more that exists outside of your own facilities, and your own knowledge base and framework. And this is an example of that. And so I just want to read this letter. So I typed this up, November 11th, here, 2020. Dollar Tree Corporate Headquarters, 500 Volvo Parkway, Chesapeake, Virginia, 23320, which my letter reads. Hello. I looked on your website for a link to submit feedback on a positive store experience I had yesterday and did not find one. As such, I would be remiss not to share my jaw-dropping experience at the Ann Arbor, Michigan store located at 325 North Maple Road. First, let me begin by sharing that I'm an absolute Dollar Tree loyalist. Not only have I shopped at Dollar Tree stores in Metro Detroit, I have also frequented Dollar Tree stores while traveling to areas such as Shreveport, Louisiana, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Biloxi, Mississippi, Cape Girardeau, Missouri, West Frankfort, Illinois, and Dunkirk, New York, as well as others. Those repeated positive experiences reinforced my loyalty. But yesterday's experience at the Ann Arbor store took my Dollar Tree history to a new level. First, it was an unexpected store visit as I had an appointment with the Secretary of State next door and hadn't planned on shopping. My appointment took only 10 minutes, which left me with 45 minutes before my next appointment nearby at University of Michigan Health System. I thought to myself, I could drop in that Dollar Tree and kill some time before that next appointment, which I did. As I entered the store, lost my place there, as I entered the store, I also thought to myself in sheer amazement, what in the world is going on? Look at this store. I was so impressed with the cleanliness, organization, and inventory levels. I literally felt like a kid in a proverbial candy store. As a leadership development trainer, speaker, and writer myself, I knew I had to find a manager to share my feedback. I found her, Nicole, stocking in one of the aisles. I immediately complimented her on the excellent job she was doing. She told me she was known to run a tight ship. I told her it was obvious to me she took great pride in her store and encouraged her to keep up the good work. I also noticed another positive reflection of her character when she told me that she believed her inventory levels were strong because the store had only been there for a year and many people might not be aware of it yet. Instead of taking a competitive stance that her store was better than other locations, she took a more humble approach in her explanation. She was gracious yet humble in receiving my feedback. I came in for one item and left with far more than that. I literally walked down most of the aisles with such enthusiasm. I saw another employee stocking in the center of the store, and I commended her on the great job she was doing as well as I passed by. I am in Ann Arbor on a regular basis. I will be shopping at this store during future trips. When it was time for me to check out, Nicole came to the register and rung me up with a good attitude. Please join me in recognizing Nicole's leadership that serves as a positive reflection on your chain here in Michigan. Best regards, Rachelle Smith, with a CC, copy of this letter and purchase receipt to Dollar Tree, 325 North Maple Road, Ann Arbor, Michigan, 48103. So, love to do this. Love to do this. Doesn't happen very often. Ironically, when I think, my corporate letters, typically do one or two a year, but I've kind of surprised myself with the number of corporate letters that I have sent. Sent one to the Edge Fitness Clubs in Connecticut, sent one to Joel Anderson, the CEO of Five Below, complimenting him on just the wonderful, inventory with their fitness items that started pretty soon after the shutdown. And did one for Discount Tire. We'll highlight that one next week. And this one for Dollar Tree. And certainly it takes a lot for me to write a letter like that, but folks, it was outstanding. Just absolutely outstanding. But think, that could have been a situation. How often in life do we say, oh, there's no need for me to go in there. I can go to my own location. Mine's the best anyway. Or, and we're just kind of closed-minded to other options and opportunities that exist. Having a closed mindset. All right, earlier this year when I told you I got that big inspiration from the Edge Fitness Clubs, imagine if I would have told myself, I'm a member of Planet Fitness. I don't want to hear what any other chain has to say. I don't care what any other gym has to say. Fortunately, in a role like mine, particularly on Fitness Friday, I have to be open. I have to recognize that the good that exists in the fitness industry and the challenges and all of that, but it requires me to take a more objective stance. Whether I'm a member of a facility or not, I kind of have this standing on the sidelines approach to things. But imagine if I would have just been closed-minded and not received that fitness inspiration. I don't know what would have happened. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just hard to say what path it would have taken. If I hadn't then ultimately been inspired to create Rachelle's Home Fitness Center, which has been going strong ever since March 21st. But I had to be open. I had to recognize that there are other gyms outside of my own, and particularly with the Edge Fitness situation, as I've talked about in previous episodes, there was more. It was certainly more targeted, as the franchise is certainly more targeted, in my opinion, to advanced exercise, bodybuilders and people like that. And so that's why when I looked at the initial, Planet Fitness home work-ins, that first night when they announced that, it lost me immediately because I saw that and was like, I can't relate to that. That's too basic. I'm advanced. I need something more intense, and all of that. And so Edge Fitness, their home work-ins and all of that certainly provided that initial boost of inspiration, which led to my hey, I'm going to work at home. These other people, fitness people passionate about their fitness, they're killing it. These instructors are killing it at home, and I'm going to kill it at home as well. So that inspiration came from a gym that was not mine, but I had to be open. I had to be open. And to think that what a tremendous blessing and eye-opening experience I would have missed out on in this realm of home fitness had I not been open. And try to make a basic workout, just, that inspiration that just immediately just fell through, just fell through. But if I would have tried to make that work, and I would have been miserable and unhappy, and it's just hard to think what would have happened. And so I'm just grateful for that inspiration. So I'm open, grateful for inspiration wherever and whomever it may come from. I'm a very, very passionate Northwestern alum. I've done a number of things for the university from an alumni perspective over the years. And I remember back this was when I first, transitioned from pharmaceutical sales into biotech sales. So my first biotech company, Cardiovascular Therapeutics. I was a field-based sales rep here in Metro Detroit, but we were headquartered. It was a startup pretty much in Palo Alto, California. And so I know just from a competitive class standpoint, Northwestern competes with Stanford in terms of students and choosing one or the other. And a number of students choose Stanford. I mean, just to be quiet, just to be very blunt, a number of students every year choose Stanford. And so that that just knowledge is really kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. So, but when I had my first new hire sales rep training in Palo Alto, and I had the rental car, my first day there, and I took a drive over to Stanford's campus, and I took a look at it, and I drove around, and I said, this is beautiful. And there's wonderful reputation academically, sports and all of that, and I absolutely see. But guess what? I couldn't have that eye-opening experience and that awareness if I hadn't exposed myself. But I said, I'm going to go to Stanford's campus. It's certainly world-renowned. This is going to be great. So I'm driving around, and I'm thinking, beautiful campus, palm trees, certainly much nicer than in Chicago, where you got brutal winters and it's cold and it can be certainly depressing in the winter months. And so I could see that, like, okay, Chicago, as wonderful as it is, versus Stanford, sunshine, palm trees, and all of this and that. So I could understand and empathize why somebody would make that decision, particularly, weather-based decisions. And there's a reason why in Northwestern marketing materials, where they don't show that snow, you're not going to see snow on any marketing materials for that university, because students will see that and they're like, oh no, it's going to be cold and it's rough. But I had to be open to say, let me drive onto this campus, and they can't have this competitive thing where I don't want to see it, I don't care what any other university's doing besides Northwestern. Absolutely not. Gotta be open. And I'm just giving you some practical examples, some real life examples from my own life, but think about how much in life people miss out on because they have tunnel vision. I refuse to entertain anything outside of what I know, what I've experienced, what I'm a member of, whatever. We've got to be open. We've got to be open. Expose yourself to something new. Take a look at I'm always talking about the value of competitive analysis. What are your competitors doing? What are they doing? Do you know? Have you been just so stuck in your own bubble, and we do things the best way and this is the only right way, and I refuse to evaluate what my competitors are doing? Meanwhile, they've pivoted and they are now making things happen. They've surpassed you, So just be open. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying in this episode, folks. And so next time, I'm going to talk about some specific examples of being open. Being open, just what that is looking like now in the fitness industry. And one thing you're going to notice some changes on my episodes. I'm going to drop in a couple new types of series and episodes. Number one being positive pointers. And so I'm going to highlight some different things, and some of them are going to be just home-based fitness items and things like that people buy, and they're expecting quick results and all of that. So those are going to be very teaching-based, kind of let's take a look at these type of items and see, okay, does this work? Is this setting people up for failure? Whatever the case may be. So we're going to have some positive pointers, which are going to be very practical. And then another big change is Rachelle's Fitness Adventures. So for Powerhouse, I highlighted which should be days of my workouts in Powerhouse, because it was always something going on. It was truly like a soap opera in many respects. So moved to Planet. That was a very compliance-based organization, so there wasn't just the kind of soap opera drama and stuff that would happen at the gym like that. So it turned into Rachelle's PF Adventures. You remember that, where I highlighted just different experiences at different locations and all of that. That was wonderful, and that was great. So in this next season, actually my current season and the next season, I'm just going to have a blanket episodes or series of episodes that I'm going to call Rachelle's Fitness Adventures. So that's going to be home, that's going to be out my outdoor, and all of that. And gym, certainly when I move to the hybrid, the next season of my journey. And so those are going to all be locked into those one episodes. We talk about outdoor, and actually in a couple weeks, Thanksgiving week, we can talk about lock all of my outdoor Rachelle's Fitness Adventures into the Shreveport trip that I just have, such as the day after my birthday, when we encountered a dog. When I was out power walking, encountered a dog that morning, and that was a whole new experience for me. And so I'm going to talk more about that in a couple more weeks, and what happened and all of that. But I can definitely tell you, with me, where I look back now, and I guess I should have been afraid of the situation, I was more irritated because the dog was interrupting my workouts. And so, see, much like in the gym, I don't like to be interrupted. I don't want to be interrupted by people or a dog on my path. But just I look back now and I realize, like, wow, that was a really good learning experience for me that I never had encountered before. That people who do outdoor fitness all the time, just things like that, just things you may encounter on the way. So there's certainly adventure in that. So I'll talk more about that, hear about Rachelle's experience with the dog on Uri Drive in Shreveport, Louisiana. We'll talk more about that, folks. But that's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for your time and attention and support all of these years, 6 years strong here on Fitness Friday. So stay tuned for next week where I'm going to talk about more specifics, what being open and adaptable, being willing to pivot looks like. But until then, always remember, I am positively passionate about your leadership, fitness, and success. Make it a great